So just off the rip, by making this video, I already expect a bunch of people just assume I'm Drake apologist or Drake enjoyer to the least of it, which I'm neither. I barely ever heard guys' music ever since Scorpion dropped. Never been a huge fan of him either. Always realized what kind of person he was to hip hop, even back when I was a kid. I'm currently 23 years old, and to see where he has gone in his career really baffles me. It reminds me of a lot of what regional music has turned to here in Brazil. It just absolutely flipped to funk, like Brazilian funk. Some of you will be familiar with the likes of Weeknd's São Paulo. That's like what pretty much 99% of music is today. So to see what Drake has become in the western region is just insane. But not only that, to see what he think he's capable of as well, because it's pretty obvious that one should never just doubt the talent of a motherfucker who has all these resources, because it really boils down to that. Is all the resources that he has available to him. It just proves that even in the most failure state possible, he will still thrive too, just because people still maintain connect. So past that, to the title of the video and to the point I'm here to bring up, a genuine critique I've been pondering upon as it pertains to GNX and an album that I really enjoyed. I really never thought that Kendrick could pull off this kind of album. It brings me back to albums like Dr. Dre's album, all his albums pretty much, which is just a collective of tracks, not very connected one to another. Because that's what Kendrick's whole deal is. Every track of his is interconnected one to another. If you go back to Section 80, Good Kid, Mad City, obviously, To Pimp a Butterfly, Damn, and obviously Mr. Morale. Mr. Morale literally goes from like start to finish. Good Kid, Mad City, start to finish. Section 80. Same thing. So all of his projects, I believe even Untitled Unmastered has like a flow similar to that. A friend of mine brings up Untitled Unmastered as an album that is superior to Good Kid, Mad City in its cohesion to one point. I can't really exemplify because I don't feel what he's saying, but it is a contender for like some people's favorite Kendrick album, and it's pretty much a B-sides album. So like that's crazy just to start to have a B-sides be potentially someone's greatest work. Just goes to show how much work goes into anything that Kendrick does. Like if he has a stash, it's crazy, it's insane. We all seen like some of the unreleased shit, like the fucking Alright snippet, Cartoons and Cereal is an insane bop. Like I actually cannot believe that shit went out because of Sample Killer. That is an insane song, and I'm so glad that we actually have it. But then to the point of it being a more distinct Kendrick album, GNX that is, to have it so distinct, it actually has another point to it that I find that it will be a detriment going forward in Kendrick's discography, which is how timeless it is. When we go back to albums like Section 80, it's very much the most similar-ish album to GNX as it pertains to just being a vibe and it not being super cohesive track to track. But GNX is just absolute just mixtape territory, and we don't go back to like Kendrick's old mixtapes. I'm trying to get these houses out, and this is my singer, DJ Ill Will. Mixtapes, even he doesn't like going back to them times. Maybe we go back to Overly Dedicated, but that's it. And for that to be one of Kendrick's least timeless albums, it is pretty much a moment in hip-hop. It's a moment because we are very close. We are 1 year apart from To Pimp a Butterfly being 10 years old. That album is from March 15, 2015. We are near 10 years away from the release of this album, and it still resonates daily with a lot of people, with a lot of situations that go on this wretched earth. And so with that album being what it is, Good Kid, Mad City being what it is, a story that's pretty much like a movie. It hits like a classic movie that you just cannot stop watching, like a fucking ghetto interpretation by like the people who made, I don't know, No Country for Old Men, let's say. It's a very terrible comparison, but we all know what No Country for Old Men is. For some people, it's just a classic movie that every rewatch is insane. It's like amazing. There's all those details you've missed. There's all those interpretations you can take from each visit. I still remember every listen of Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst being a different view of death and life and all that shit, because it's so fucking like, it's so crazy, so abstract yet so direct with everything it says. It's just amazing. Like, that's some of the best songwriting that's ever been given to a release. It reminds me of this one guy on Twitter posted this clip of a Kendrick hater listening to this song for the first time and literally crying listening to it.
Sing about me, I'm dying of thirst. It can water down a demon with the Holy Ghost till it drown in the blood of Jesus. Oh my gosh. This is beautiful. This is beautiful.
Let you will sing about me. I said, and every day that glass mirror get tougher to watch. I tie my stomach in knots. Scheme up.
Oh my gosh. This is so beautiful, bro. Oh my gosh, bro. These lyrics are so beautiful. They speak to my soul, bro.
You can't get that from like a lot of people cannot even mention a song that they've cried to standalone from any other situation, like a sad song on a breakup. No, this is just a song that is so emotionally packed, it can actually bring a man to tears just on its own. And like, that is just insane. That is like some artistry that cannot simply be achieved. So whenever I think of that, whenever I think of Black the Berry, Father Time, or Auntie Diary, a Mirror per se, then I look at GNX. I can't really think of many tracks from that album that will actually resonate with people other than Men at the Garden and maybe Whacked Out. And Whacked Out Murals on Energy standalone, lyrics wise, that track is Kendrick talking his shit for 5 minutes, and Kendrick talking his shit for 5 minutes is the best shit that anyone has ever talked. I like Chauncey's description of just him saying I'm that nigga for 5 minutes. It's so accurate. It's like literally just that. The whole track is just Kendrick going off on his own behalf against everything that he thought was wrong, everything that he thought he was wronged on. However, on the point of it being an album that's very stuck to its time, I still look at every single other track in the track list and think, yeah, like, these are good songs. These are songs that are enjoyed at any period in time, but it doesn't have any of the longevity of any of Kendrick's previous works, and it makes sense. We all know this album was rushed, and not rushed as in like the art was not perfected. Rushed as in Kendrick was like on a bag and he wanted to get that bag out. We've seen, I believe, on the GNX track, the title track, DJ Mustard posted a screenshot of Kendrick just saying, "Hey yo, hit me up with a beat. I got some shit to take off my chest." About like 2 weeks before the album's release. You can say that track is good, because that track is good. It's a good track. None of these tracks in this track listing are bad per se. None of it is like terrible. Some people might consider some cuts skippable. I'd say like some of the tacky repeated words in Squabble Up, definitely a skip for me, but none of the tracks are like bad. If you're just playing it on start to finish, you enjoy the whole album, but they still don't have any grasp of future time to come. Most of the tracks were built as bangers, and bangers just come out every other week. Like Future just came out with a track, fire as shit, came out with a whole ass mixtape, so he's on like a highlight moment as well. Every other day we got a banger, and this album is full of those, but the only point of longevity to this album is the fact that it was made by Kendrick Lamar, who has such a tight, like such a laser focus discography that whenever you look back on it, GNX will be there and you will remember good times with GNX. But as it pertains to all of his other albums, it is way less of a callback from the future than any of his other releases. Because let's not forget, Kendrick went on since May of last year. It's gonna go a full year since the beef started. Kendrick has released 5 songs, I believe. Was Like That, Euphoria, 616 LA, Metagrams, Not Like Us, 5 songs. for this beef. He has released 12 tracks for the GNX album, plus a few Lucy, such as Watch the Party Die, the GNX video announcement, which is a song that's like been slightly extended in the Super Bowl performance, has performed at the Super Bowl, but that doesn't count as a like release. Still an amazing moment, that's not to be undertaken, but it's still not a release of his. It's just something that he partook in, and now he's back at being quiet. Now he's back at plotting his shit, at doing whatever he's gonna do. He's gonna do the GNX tour, I believe. A lot of people think he's gonna drop a deluxe to GNX. I don't think that's gonna happen. He hasn't dropped a deluxe with any additional content ever. I don't know. I really don't understand why people think this is going to happen. Like, sure, be hopeful that we're gonna get more Kendrick, but never has Kendrick dropped a deluxe that has actual more content to it. Like, he dropped 10 and all it did was make it backwards, make it play the track list backwards, so it tells a different story, which is like the quote-unquote bad ending of the album, because it starts with Duckworth and then it ends with his death at the intro track to the original track listing of them. So I really don't understand why people just think Kendrick is suddenly gonna go deluxe mode and drop a deluxe to this shit. But whatever, besides the point. To what this album stands for is very momentary. It's a indicative of how he has come off of this beef on the high ground, one massive W, and now has released a project that is mostly like 90% off the beef.
Suki, you are the face of Drizzy's fucking album. Yeah, Drizzy fans. Let me tell you something about music, dog. This album has nothing. How should I articulate this? This album that Kendrick put out, this is for the world. Like, we could go 2-3 songs back, and it's like, he not even talking about, bro. He's at this point in his life where he's like on some shit like a lot of us, where you have a threshold of how much you let people play with you, and like, this is just his way of putting out to the world, nobody is fucking playing with me. It's not just directed at him. We love a good rap battle. We love, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We haven't seen something like that in a very long time, especially because traditionalism is not a thing anymore.
Just standalone proof that he can just deliver on this very infectious and head-bobbing bangers that he's usually not really known for. He always had bangers, always. Even an album that is so introspective and deep to digest as a Mr. Morale, has a N95, has a Die Hard, which is like a bit of a banger. Even this album, he managed to pull off some songs that you can actually bob your head. But GNX is just a proof that he's not only able to do that, he's also able to diversify in the more R&B touches, which he's been dabbling in since A Good Kid, Mad City. But this is him actually picking up all of his talents as a musician from previous works and actually laser focusing on those. So he gave away cohesion to just making the best tracks on a certain pocket that he could. And that makes it so this album has a very good listening experience, has a very quick enjoyment of it. Like, you just listen to it and you enjoy it immediately. There's no moment in which you're like, this song, You can always recognize a certain pocket being very well performed in every track in this album. However, due to that, and due to, again, the moment that Kendrick has built with this album, I would deem to be Kendrick's least timeless album to date, simply because of how much the moment has pretty much shaped this album to be. He had to make this. He had to make this album for multiple reasons, mainly the Super Bowl performance. He had so much shit to take out his chest, like so much stuff to vent out just off the first track, and every other track is just banger. Oh, fucking R&B pocket, banger R&B pocket. Like, is even nuts listening to the album in like a car, because you're gonna get this super smooth listening experience with a Luther or a Dodger or even a Gloria or Hard Part 6, and then you get punched in the face with a hey now, a TV off, a Reincarnated. Bro, Reincarnated makes me want to drift. That shit make me want to spin out. Cause like the listening experience is so good. He has delivered such a great album to just listen to without really thinking much about it, which is to say it's an amazing album. It is an amazing album. It's one of Kendrick's works. He didn't disappoint at the slightest. Release every song in here pretty good. He had a counterpoint to every single argument brought against him in these tracks as well, like especially the whole point of that Drake brought up in the Triple S album that he just released, to say that hoes are gonna be at the strip club shaking ass with a dictionary. None of these tracks are very like fucking club oriented, and yet none of them pull up that requirement of a dictionary. Some do, like some of the songs you actually have to listen to shit, but it's just some. Most of these pockets are very concise and very good to listen. Bangers. TV Off was made as evidence that Kendrick can just make not only a catchy song, but also make another moment that is like not like us, but not just the same track, and now also not mention Drake and not be like this expose, all this dumbass shit. It just be a good track with a fire ass beat and an amazing moment, which is the classic Mustard Yo that every company decided to show that they're hip with the kids and posted like their property, their art, their IP, yelling Mustard, which is also another point to the moment that this track is. It's insane to realize that this man was months ago calling another man a pedophile, has dropped an album following this moment, and every single brand with a social media presence is hyping up alongside this man. Every single step that Kendrick has taken creates so many footprints on Drake's image that is insane. Just this track doesn't even reference Drake. The most that it has is a Mustard beat that goes incredibly hard. Had every single company posting the yell that this man gave on this track for pretty much no reason other than to show that they're up with it, like they're in touch, to say. And even if that, like, imagine you just wake up as Drake and you have to open, I don't know, Twitter or whatever the fuck he opens, just his Instagram, whatever it is, and seeing every single IP, every single company just posting out Mustard. Like there's even that one hospital that posted the fact, which is actually questionable, that the Not Like Us beat is 101 BPM, which is the exact BPM required to do CPR. So if you are ever in a situation where CPR is needed ahead of you, think of who Kendrick was calling a pedophile in 2024, and you'll be able to time CPR just correct. It really is just nuts. It's just a very intense moment, which is why I say that this album is very momentary. It's an amazing release. I will definitely be hearing it like from years ahead of time. But whenever I think of a Kendrick album, this will probably, in about a year or 2 years, will be the last Kendrick album I'll remember as it pertains to the longevity or the desire to just listen to a track of that album. Like when I think of, I want to listen to a track, I think of Mortal Man, I think of DNA, I think of Humble, think of Blacker the Berry, I'd even think of Die Hard or Purple Heart, or of course I think about a Sing About Me.
Man, I hope you enjoyed everything I brought you, dog. You know your mom still, you know what, man, your mom still miss you, man. Everybody miss you. I do. You know what I'm saying? You was my homie, my road, dog. Yeah, man, I can't front, dog. I miss you like a motherfucker, man. I be riding out sometimes by myself, like, damn, I be looking in my rear view to see if you behind me in your Chevy, man. I be feeling like, damn, I want to see my mans, I want to see my nigga, though, you know, it's like I can't see you and shit, cause you gone, man, you know what I'm saying? You just gone and shit, and I be wanting to kick it with you and hang with you and shit.
Of a backseat freestyle.
Black ass nigga, ugly ass nigga, dumb ass nigga. I hope your ass get ran over, bitch ass nigga.
And we can go even further back. We can go to a ADHD. We got the new enhanced edition of GTA 5 right now. Got ADHD. That shit was a bop. That shit had everybody just driving, going fucking nowhere fast, following traffic laws and shit. And I think it will stay like that. I think even Kendrick knows that this is a very monumental moments for his discography, but not the exact monumental album that he is used to do. And that's good. That's a good thing as well. It's a critique of this album, but it is a good thing to see Kendrick kind of relaxing as his releases get more and more dense. Like, listening to Mr. Morale is a therapy session. Listening to GNX is just you having a good time. And if Kendrick is able to do that without, you know, making this such a political statement or a moment, because you cannot listen to an album like Damn and not be like punched in the face with like nihilism or existentialism. You can't listen to a Mr. Morale and not think about damn, homie was bunny hopping and shit. And you cannot listen to To Pimp a Butterfly Just Catch. A lot of people realized that To Pimp a Butterfly was an amazing album. People were blasting it. It became an anthem for those protests and more protests to come. And yet you can't just, you know, play the album without stopping what you're doing. You have some tracks that you can bop to, but a track like These Walls or You or I a little bit of a Mortal Man, you have to stop what you're doing to listen to those tracks. You can't just bop it. No, it's a very hard album to just pick and listen. GNX is, those old albums aren't. Yet those old albums are the ones that stand the test of time the most. While GNX been a year, good little year, people don't shut up about it, but time will come where Twitter will calm down, where the algorithm will slow down, because Kendrick actually has gone quiet for that much time. And we gotta remember that Kendrick goes quiet because he's working on something, as he always is. And this album was him going full on grind set mode. I need this album for the Super Bowl. I need to make it good. I need to say what I gotta say. I need to make it fast. He made that shit fast. You gotta understand this. A lot of people understand somewhat that, not like us, second verse definitely written after Family Matters dropped. Absolutely was written after that shit, because the references to current events, to literal like hours ago event, couldn't have been more precise. To say that he doubled down on the slavery shit, those just cannot be tucked. Those are specifics. Those are pinpoint. Those are note, like book notes, paper folded. Kendrick had the WordPad with the yellow marker on top of them lines to like bring it back to this verse on Not Like Us. So every single track in GNX was probably written fast, especially the title track, with how Mustard even showed off how Kendrick has actually had the beat for like a few days before the album. It was crazy. It's just an insane fast album, and that's what I gotta say. If you listen to it thus far, don't subscribe, don't bother. This isn't a channel that I plan on uploading like a lot of shit. I just actually had this thought in my mind and I wanted to collect it. I have no script. I barely even had the track list in front of me. I was opening shit in the middle of recording. Just wanted to get this shit out the way and start a discussion. So don't bother subscribing, and have a good rest of your day, man.
I heard that you a pedophile. You touch little boys and girls.